Well, good morning. I'm Rick Dancer. It is Monday, and we have a show tonight that you're going to love with a young man named George Beverly. And I am super excited to bring that to you tonight because I think it's a fresh perspective on everything that we have going on in our culture. But I also wanted to talk to you about some things going on with just me. It's funny. Before I get on here to do this, I hesitate because there are so many people who like to pick and pick and pick. But I'm also reading a book, and it's talking about the difference between being courageous and being a coward. And we live in a world that really promotes cowardice, and I am not going to be a coward. And I just refuse. So this is an interesting little story. A gentleman named Matthias from Germany, Bonn, Germany, was watching an interview that I did with Bob Welch. And the point of telling you this story, for those of you who watch, you'll understand. For those of you who hate, you will find your own motive for that, and I cannot stop that at all. But this guy is changing the way I think about myself, and I think it's really healthy to kind of examine your life from time to time and see what is it that I really want to do, and what is it that I'm doing, and taking a stand for not a position, a right or left position, but kind of doing what you feel is the right thing to do. And culture will come screaming down your throat as soon as you do, because there's nothing more threatening than courageous people. People love to have people cower before them, but I'm not going to do that. So anyway, Matthias, this super cool guy, writes this letter to Bob Welch after we do this interview on Bob's new book. And he says in the letter, I'm reading it and I'm kind of going, God, Rick, who's this Rick guy? Why doesn't he get to start talking about saving my enemy and the book and everything? And then he says, but then I started to understand that it wasn't just about the book. I was fascinated by the way Rick questioned you and your talk in general. He has a great way of asking, and it was fun to watch you interact. His approach was different from what other people were doing. Bob's on a tour, so he's got different people interviewing him all the time. And because I've been listening to Jordan Peterson and how he asks questions, and Joe Rogan, and how they have a conversation. I think sometimes in life we think that things are supposed to ebb and flow the way they are, and they can't. You have to. That's the beauty of a podcast. That's why television is dying, is because they have 5 minutes. Here's what you get, and they decide what that information is. But here, it's a conversation that ebbs and flows and moves. So anyway, Matthias goes on to say, he's talking about the stories and how all these different things came up, and he watched my face. It's kind of funny to have somebody different listening to you, because you guys are used to me. So it's kind of interesting to have somebody different kind of watch what you're doing. And he said, I understood then what Rick was doing. He goes, but then later on, he goes, I didn't get his last name. He didn't catch my name was Dancer. And then when he did, he got it. He said, then that song by the Killers came to my mind. And if you haven't heard this song, most of you have. It's very iconic. It's it's basically, are we human, or are you a dancer? And so the song goes, I did my best to notice when the call came down the line. Are we human, or are we dancer? My sign is vital. My hands are cold, and I'm on my knees looking for the answer. Are we human, or are we dancer? And then he says the kindest thing in this letter. He says, I heard that even in English native speakers, this song remains enigmatic. For a long time, I doubted if I got the words right because it made no sense to me. Are we human, or are we dancer? I hope someday somebody will explain it to me. But one thing I know for sure, Rick is dancer and Rick is human. So I looked it up. And here's what happened. An American journalist came up with this. Hunter Thompson had written, this is where they think that song came from. And he wrote in the article, America is raising a generation of dancers, afraid to take one step out of line. Doesn't that define our culture right now? A whole line of dancers listening to the company line, listening to whatever anybody tells them, and then going with that instead of doing their own research. And so I thought, God, I don't want to be a dancer. I don't want to be that guy who's dancing around issues and around life. I want to be a human, you know? I'm listening to Jordan Peterson today talking, and he's saying, because life is hard. I mean, life is really hard. And it's filled with, heartbreaking moments, and it's difficult, and people are difficult. So you got to find your thing and just go with it. And I think today a lot of people just are afraid to do that. They're afraid to dream. And I don't know where this guy comes from in terms of, I know what people say about him and I don't buy it. But he said at one point, he goes, the Bible's full of really great analogies on how to live your life. He says, like Jesus, he picks up his cross and go on the journey, so we all have a cross to bear. And a lot of us have more than one. But people are afraid to pick it up. And yes, Jesus got help. Somebody came up and to his rescue and helped him pick up that cross and helped him bear that cross. But you can't expect that. And it's almost like we live in a culture that expects that people are going to help them. And you and I should be looking for people. And I do in my life. I'm always looking for people that I can reach out to. But you as a person can't expect somebody to get you to the end of the road. It's not going to happen. And I think that's what scares me. I guess it doesn't scare me. That's what concerns me about our culture today, is we are creating a bunch of dancer, and we don't have enough people who are just human. So we have expectations and we want somebody to do it for us. And it just doesn't happen that way. I wrote down, I'm a dancer who refuses to dance the dance. And in the end, I'm finding out that I am human. The only dance I will do is the one that makes me come alive. And I think that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm looking at with this is, who can you help? Whose life can you be a part of? But in your own life, what kind of decisions are you going to make that are going to get you beyond being stuck? Because I think all of us feel stuck from time to time. I mean, I feel stuck from time to time. And you can't back away from the conversation all the time. It's really tempting. I mean, over the weekend, I posted something that we're going to be doing on a billboard, a couple of things we're going to be doing on a billboard. And one of them is supporting our local police. And you would think that I was setting the world on fire. Some of the response that I had from that. And, here's the deal. We can agree to disagree, but you can't anymore. But we should be able to agree to disagree. And we don't have to be on the same page on on all these different things going on in our culture. But I think the worst thing you can do is try to put somebody, and I get this a lot, is trying to, okay, so then if you said that, then you must be this. It's not how it is. Some lady accused me. We have a friend of mine, Derek. He's a black man, and he's in one of these billboards with us, and it's in the picture. And a woman came on and had the audacity to say, oh, what'd you do? Just go find the guy on the street and put him on there? And it was like, and I was like, what? That's kind of racist. You know what I mean? I said, no, he's a friend of mine. And people don't do their homework. They just start labeling you. And hold on, here's Royce has got something on here. I like to reach out and support fellow addicts in recovery and those who need it and seeking help. I'll tell you what, Royce, that's where I've learned the most in my life is in the addiction community. Because I have a lot of friends in this community, and you guys will do anything for anybody. Why is that? Why is that I find the poorest people are the most generous people? I did a guy at a store, a guy named Bill, and he gave sleeping bags to these homeless folks at Christmas time one year. And I said to him, what do you have? He goes, nothing. I said, do you live on, assisted living food stamps to the Oregon Trail card. Yeah. So you don't have anything and you live paycheck to paycheck, literally. And you went home when you saw these people in need and you got sleeping bags and you gave. There's rich people in this town. There's middle class people in this town that would not even do that. And I said, why? And he said, because I know what it feels like. Brian says, to share what I've been learning, inalienable rights is really a thing. It really is. It's not partisan. It's just as liberty is the intersection of freedom and morality. The price for liberty is to remain ever vigilant and protected. We've been too complacent, and we are starting to realize this. It's an individual that a responsibility is. Good thoughts. I agree with you, Brian. I think, I think people twist the word freedom now, and they try to make it, hi, Donna, they try to make it so that it's a bad thing to be concerned about your freedom. What that does not mean is that we care about our freedom more than we care about people who are dying or getting sick. It doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is we're looking at the bigger picture, and down the road, I mean, I'm already noticing people who in the stores are afraid to take off their mask, even when stores that they'll allow them to. Because we have been there in the trenches, and once you find recovery, you present it in life. So Royce, man, I wish if I sent you a link, would you come on here? I do need your email, but I guess you could email that to me, or is that bad? I'd love to talk with you on here. If you're willing. Those with less know how to help because we know what it is like to not have what we need. I believe you, Tracy. I'm not going to pretend that I'm in that place in my life. Bless all who give, even though they may not have very much. Hi, Lynn. Good to see you too. Yeah, if Royce, if you want to do that, I would totally talk with you. I can bring you up on here really easily. So why is that? It is a thing I do when I am able because it feels good to help. And Donna, I think that's great. Here's a question I have, and this is not directed at you, okay? But you know what I think what the best time to help is? When it doesn't feel great. You know what I mean? This is just me, and I'm Donna. I am not putting this on you. There's nothing wrong with something feeling great, but I think then what we do in American culture is we start doing it because it feels good. Well, helping people sometimes is shitty, and sometimes it doesn't feel good. Oh God, dude, you're gonna do it. Okay, hold on. Okay, I gotta figure out how to do this. Okay, so let me go on here. Hold on. Okay, hold on. You guys, this is just the way these shows go. Here's how we're going to do it. SAVOY. Royce, you need to have Google Chrome uploaded on your computer. I hope you do at Yahoo. Okay, let me do something. So you guys, we're going to see if this will work here. Hang on. We're going to send SAVOY family 4 at yahoo.com. Okay, I think that'll work. Let's see if it happens. Okay, Royce, that should come to you, and you just follow the directions on there. I love celebrating recovery. My life has changed since being in recovery. I just love all you lives. Oh, all my lives. Okay. Well, thank you. So we're going to see, Leota, I know what you're saying. It's just talked about compassion. And see, and I think one of the things that's really getting to me is that there's so many people trying to paint a nasty picture of people who don't agree with them, or put you in a certain camp. Where you don't belong. I don't want to be in any camp. I don't want to be a Republican or a Democrat. And then people will come on and make fun of you because they say, oh, yes, you are. You are too. You're this, you're that. And I think you have to get to this point in your life where you really understand who you are. And I guess maybe that's why Matthias, this gentleman from Germany, and his comments are so overwhelmingly awesome to me, because it gives me like a fresh start. You know what I mean? I feel like I've been kind of getting in a rut, and I'm tired and irritated. Rick, remember you helped me through the scammer using your picture. I sent things for Nathan. Oh, I remember. A political atheist, exactly. And it's like listening to that still small voice to figure out what it is that we're supposed to be doing. And I think the hard thing right now is that the current is against you. Exactly, Rick. I'm me and you are you. It's like, if people remember, we used to that was kind of the cool thing about being human and living in the same neighborhood with people, is everybody didn't think the same way, but we weren't accusing people. I have never seen so much rudeness in my life online. I didn't have to work here. It's a terrible little place. Now, let me tell you I've got a super cool little story tonight for you, on a young man I met many, many years ago. And his name's George Beverly. And at the time he was like 4 or 5, and he could not even utter a few words. He had very little vocabulary. Is on the autism spectrum. And at that time, it was kind of hit and miss at what was going to happen. And I saw his mom posted something on Facebook the other day, a picture of him, and I'm going, oh my God, that's George. So I got a hold of her, and they're going to be on our show tonight, talking. I'll show you the old story, and then we'll see what George's life is like now. But he was on like a cross country runner or something. And I didn't think this little boy was going to be able to do very much. And it surprised everybody and surprised me. I'm looking to see if my man is on here. I wish they'd let me play that song, or the Killers song, but so many are too quick to pass judgment. Yeah, and I think we all do that, but, I think there's also a point where I don't mind. I wonder what the difference is between passing judgment on someone and just making an assumption. Because if you judge me for saying something, maybe that's okay. Maybe I don't care. But when you take and twist my words and start going, well, you must be this or you must be that if you said this, that's when it starts getting really nasty. And there's a whole move out there. And I think, I guess what I'd ask you, what have you learned about yourself from COVID? Like what have you learned? Because I think it makes us all have to really look at ourselves and say, who am I? And one of the things I've learned is that I really question everything, and I always have. But I didn't know to what extent by this. And I think I actually am finding that I'm more courageous than I thought I was. Because I think if I'm really honest with you, and I will be, and because people will use this against me anyway, and it doesn't really matter. But I think that I spent a lot of years dancing, being a dancer, my whole life. And in news, you have to be the certain person people want you to be. In television, you have to be the certain person people want you to be. Running for political office, you have to be the certain person you want to be. You have to have a sense of responsibility for yourself. Brian, thank you. That's exactly. I'm responsible for me, not you. I love that. Okay, here he is. Royce.
Hey there.
How you doing, dude?
Hang on, I got to turn my mic back up.
Okay. We got you on. You were fast, dude.
Hey, thanks.
So tell me your story. Tell me why. Tell me.
I'm doing great. Moved out here to Utah. Live with my ex-wife. It's like one of those. It's one of those situations where we're, just kind of raising our grandkids together.
So are you in recovery?
Yes.
So tell me about that. What's that about?
Well, it's been 7 months, and it's just I moved out here the week of Christmas, and I came out here to visit, and I saw out here, I'd just been recently like clean 3 weeks and went back to work, and I'm like, wow, but here I am living in this quad on campus, and it was just very lonely. And so I came out here to visit my grandkids and my ex-wife, and she needed some help out here, and I came out here and just kind of became part of the family again, and just really feeling like full of purpose, and just being present in people's lives again.
So why is that important to have a sense of purpose?
Well, it's because, like, if you're just, a lot of addicts, we think if we're only hurting ourselves, then that's no big deal. But once you're present in people's lives again, and like with your grandkids and your family and things like that, you're feeling loved again. It's like that becomes something purposeful and meaningful in your life. And it's great. And when I see, what I meant is like helping people out and stuff, you'll see somebody on like Sober Crew or Sobriety G's, which is a couple Facebook pages that, are reaching out and need help, or they just celebrated their first week or their first day or 20 years, encourage them and reach out and, show them support as a recovery community. When I started there 3 weeks ago, we started out with 8,000 members. Now we're almost 20,000 on Sober Crew. So
what does that tell you?
that just tells us that we got strength in numbers, and we have a great community out here for people that want it.
Are you courageous?
Yes, absolutely.
Does that feel good to say?
It does, very much so, and to feel just totally loved and by my family and my grandkids, and just being able to be present in their lives is beyond it's beyond words, man.
You kind of sound like you're choking up there a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Do you a friend of mine said one time this just recently, and it kind of changed the way I see things in certain stuff. He said, I found a wife or a partner who doesn't need me, but she wants me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Is that kind of, yeah.
And here's another piece of the puzzle. It's like, I grew up in group homes and foster homes and had a really rough childhood. So, and the grandkids' mom, we're their primary care providers right now because their mom's having issues. So we stepped up, and, it's just amazing to be able to do that, and also show them, and give them that support that I didn't have growing up, So
if you go back and you had a conversation with 10-year-old Royce, what would you say? What would you say?
This is a lot of the same things that I'm telling them now. I'm telling them, I don't have all the answers, but the thing is I'm going to tell you what doesn't work.
What would you say to yourself?
Stay in school and pursue your dreams.
If you had that little boy sitting in front of you right now,
yeah,
and he's getting passed from home to home to home to home, would you tell him, you will find love? Yeah. You will find people who care about you.
That was difficult, because I was really choosy and I was very manipulative, and I had a lot of issues, and, I just finally, it jived around 16 or 17. I finally ended up being placed in a place that I really liked, but it took 9 years in doing so, because I was, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little butt. So,
but and not to give you an excuse, because but you had shit in your life.
Yeah,
how can you not be a little butt?
Yeah. Yeah, alcohol. My mom was a cocktail waitress. Dad was a bartender. We had it was entertaining adults all the way up until I was 7 years old. Constantly, and just so yeah.
So how long have you been clean now this time?
It's been 7 months since November 15th of 2020. So it's very, very close. It's like 6 to 7 months. So I don't count the days, you know, I mean, I don't like to get caught in that little cycle, but you know.
And I don't mean this in a religious standpoint, but do you understand when I was talking earlier that it's like, you know, I think it's almost like Jesus's story, like picking up a cross.
Yes, absolutely.
And taking, it's your journey. And don't you think we spend too much time, Royce, waiting for somebody to come, a superhero to come help us, when in fact you are your own superhero?
Yeah, we're in charge of our own destiny. And and as addicts, you know, I mean, there's a lot of issues in Eugene and stuff that kind of, you know, that's the reason why I moved to Utah, the geographical change and everything. It just, yes, I mean, there's a lot of, I do, you know,
what are the issues in Eugene? What do you mean? Is it
just like, you know, the homeless, the addiction, I mean, decriminalizing, you know, a lot of things, you know.
So that doesn't help. I thought decriminalizing drugs was supposed to help. I thought that's why we were voting for that.
Yeah.
As a former drug addict, is that okay to call you? I'm going to say a former drug addict.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're telling me that doesn't work?
No, you know, I mean, putting, you know, a bunch of people into prison and things like that, you know, I mean, I have very mixed emotions as far as that goes. Yes, there's people that belong in prison that, you know, I mean, do drugs and contribute to like the theft in society and everything. But you know what? Hey, but there are, you know, you need it, you know, you got to want it. And, you know,
so you can't, you know what I mean? I love what you're saying, because I think you're 100% right. Because every person I have in my life, and I have quite a few, people who are, and I don't even like to say recovery, because if you've been out of it for 7 months, that isn't recovery. That means you did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, you can slip up, but so can I. I mean, all of us. But I sometimes wonder. I think the recovery thing is kind of bullshit, because it's like, you know, it strings. You're always an addict, and I understand the idea, but no, you're not. I mean, that's like saying I don't have to live in that. It feels like a trap. You know what I mean? Like a label, like, "Hi, I'm Royce. I'm an addict."
Yeah.
I always
will. Relapses are up here planned way more in advance than when it actually happens. You know, I mean, that builds up in your mind, and it's one of those things that kind of just, it's a snowball effect. You know, it's from a reaction or something exterior in your life that's going on that triggers something in your head, and then after a while, you know, I mean, it just takes a while for it to come out.
So, Royce, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I'm just saying, you need to be prepared for things like this and recognize your triggers and work through that stuff and be able to like discuss it with somebody and be open, you know, about your wants and needs, and, you know, communication, that stuff. That's all, you know, I mean, it's a must in recovery of any sort, you know.
So if you were going to develop a program to help people in Eugene, Springfield, because you're not here anymore, but you're going to look at it, is what we're doing doesn't appear to be working. So what would you suggest that we do?
I worked at Buckley for a year at the sobering desk, and we did, you know, like that coming in where they would sober up for 4 to 6 hours, offer them a place to crash out, you know, I mean, have a soup and some crackers and stuff to, you know, get them a little more nourished out of the cold, something like that. And another thing that these guys do not get paid enough is Cahoots, and they're awesome. You know, I mean, more programs like that, you know, I mean, you're in the field and you're in the trenches and you're like, you know, giving these people, you know, I mean, some immediate help for their, you know, immediate needs.
So where do you draw the line? And I'm asking, I'll probably get lambasted, as my mother used to say, for this comment, but you know that comment. But where do you draw the line where you're helping people and you're assisting them?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's a tough one. I mean, there's a lot of enablers out there too. If that's, you know, kind of what you mean, it's, you know, that's tough. You know, I mean,
it's hard because you don't want to enable people, and then you look under the Jefferson Street Bridge, and it's like there's like 100 tents down there.
Yeah, but you've been there, so that's different. That's why it's so difficult for me to, you know, and that's why I just say, you know, I mean, in a way of offering, like Buckley now, they no longer have that sobering room. They have like a few individual cells now, and it's like not the way it was because of COVID. and it's just a little, just a little spot like that, kind of like the station in 99, I mean, but, somewhere downtown Eugene that they can utilize to get a, cup of hop soup and a cot for the night or something,
So
there's nothing. I mean, there's plenty of volunteers and stuff like that. And there's plenty of people in the community that are willing to give to something like that. So,
are you still tempted to go back?
No, I've been down there a couple times, and once was recently in February to clean my storage out and do a court appearance, and I couldn't get out of there fast enough because, I just feel like I'm home now with my family and stuff. So it's for personal reasons, I'll visit there to be like and go hiking and things like that I like to do outdoors, but I don't want to move back there now.
So the courageous part on your part is that you had the courage to leave what you had left. You left it behind. And that meant for you, not just mentally and spiritually, but you had to physically exit yourself from that place. That is guts though, but that takes guts. You know what I mean?
It really does. I mean, there's a lot of things that I sacrificed to come out here, and, I mean, and you have to also know that when you come to Utah that you're done. This is a heavily policed state. It's a red state. They don't, a lot of the laws are different. A lot of the stuff isn't tolerated here like it is in Oregon. And you just have to know that, I mean, when you come here that you're going to, I mean, if you screw up.
So is Oregon too tolerant of?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, it's yes.
And that makes it easier for people to get addicted.
Yeah. And, I mean, it just, when you allow that to happen, I mean, look at the domino effect and yes, it's way different. I'm like, they don't tolerate that shit here, drug crimes and things like that. I mean, you can leave. I mean, out here in our bike rack, there's thousands of dollars worth of bikes, and they've been there for 6 months. You don't see that in Eugene. So it's because they don't tolerate that type of behavior. And when they arrest somebody, they know that they're, I mean, that's probably not wise to do that again here because they locked you up for a while.
So if you were to come back here and talk to civic leaders in Oregon and Eugene, Springfield, would that be your first piece of advice, is to stop tolerating and to help people and stop tolerating? I don't know. Like I said, it's a tough subject, I mean, because when I'm clean, I don't think like a criminal, I mean, I like to have my stuff protected, I mean, I like to know that when I go drive my car somewhere, it's not going to go to hike a trail or whatever. It's not going to get, the window bashed out of it, my stuff stolen or whatever, I mean, that's really sad, man. And if addicts are out there doing that, I mean, there's got to be at some point, there's got to be you have to be accountable for that stuff because people, work hard for that stuff. So who has to be accountable? We each have to be responsible. That's really what changed for you, wasn't it? You became responsible for your life.
Yeah, just being accountable, I mean, and living with integrity, man. Finally, I mean, it feels great.
Are you happy?
I am very happy. Yes.
You look super happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awesome out here. I'm blessed. I mean, so.
Well, Royce, thanks for having the guts to come on here. Somebody already said it. They go, God, that guy's brave to come on there and,
I haven't seen the comments, but I'm going to check them out here in a bit. So
yeah.
Well, thanks for having me, Rick. Hey, love you, Nick. I hope you're watching. Nick Salisbury, my brother. So
I love that man too. He's around here somewhere. They'll be showing up.
All right.
Royce, thanks, man.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah. See you later. So that's a very brave man. And Brian says, that's sobering to hear about Oregon. I love Oregon too. Yeah. It's a hard conversation. And I think that we need to have, maybe we need to define in our world or our, at least sounds like in Oregon, it sounds like Utah's doing something different, but maybe in Oregon, we need to, somebody brought this up once and, I'll take crap for it too, but is it compassionate to allow people to suffer in their addictions? Is it compassionate to allow people to live the way that we're doing this? Is that compassion or is that just feeling sorry? And when people feel sorry for people, often, I mean, there's a lot of agencies that don't feel sorry and they are keeping people accountable. I get that. But as a community, do we have a standard? Do we have something that we're setting, you know, to say, here's an acceptable standard because we want you to help be able to take charge of your life. And there's a lot of people out there with mental illness that can't. So we need to get the help. Like he said, Cahoots, those kind of organizations. But at some time, instead of beating up each other for having this conversation or bringing up points like this, because I'll get beaten up for this. But we need to have that conversation because it's not getting any better. In fact, it's getting much, much worse. And so here you have people who are formerly in the addict community saying, this isn't working, legalizing drugs, this isn't working. It's a form of enabling them. And instead, if we truly want to help, then we need to get those mental health services back. We need to get people out there, get more organizations like Cahoots funded. NAMI, we're going to have a show this week on NAMI, people suffering with mental illness and stuff. We need to just not shove them out on the street and be actually doing something for them. But we also can't enable bad behavior. And you can, but this is what happens. And enabling compassion is not healthy. Yeah, because I don't really find it to be compassion. Loving people is tough. It's hard. And it means you have to set a standard. You don't just love at it. I mean, love is an action word. So you have to do something. You can't just say, I love this. I mean, if you see the problem, then go help take care of it, but don't just keep letting it go on. And maybe that's the conversation we need to have as a community. Maybe that's one of the good things that comes out of COVID. We're starting to see what makes a good community and what we've been just kind of lackadaisical about and letting happen. I hope. I want something positive to come out of this, truly. So again, tonight, another positive story. George Beverly, you're going to love this man. Formerly a kid, now a man, and I think it'll really touch you. Take this, share it on your page if you would. Let people know there's hope. You know what I mean? And we can do this. We really can. We just have to stop badgering each other, and it will start. Trust me.